Hey, welcome to my channel. My name is Amanda Dittlinger, and on this channel I talk about a couple of different neurodivergencies. I talk about aphantasia, the inability to visualize in your mind's eye, SDAM, which is a rare memory disorder, and my recent diagnoses of autism and ADHD. In this video, I'm going to talk about how I first learned about aphantasia and wondering if you kind of have a similar experience, if you've come across the term and are wondering if you too also might have aphantasia. First off, the word aphantasia, I actually think I might be pronouncing it incorrectly. It's one of those words that I read about and didn't hear anybody else say, so I made it up as aphantasia, but I think it's actually aphantasia because A is a prefix that means not, like atypical, so aphantasia, not a visualizer. I need to work on saying it as aphantasia from now on, but I've been saying it the wrong way for several years now. Anyway, so how did I first learn about aphantasia? So I'm 42 now, and I first heard about it, I think I was 38. I was on Facebook, and there was this woman who was talking about how her husband kept saying he couldn't visualize during a meditation course that they were trying to take together. And that is so common. That's how a lot of people finally realize that they have aphantasia, because we can't visualize in those types of meditations where they're telling you to, visualize a space that is comforting to you, or a quiet forest, or a beautiful beach and things like that. And pretty much every single person with aphantasia that I have talked to has all thought that these types of commentary growing up were all metaphor. We did not realize that there are people out there who can visualize. When I first was reading about this woman and describing her husband's experience, at first I really related, because obviously I do have aphantasia, but at that point in time I did not know that I couldn't visualize and that other people could. And that might sound strange. So the reason why is people with aphantasia are a significant minority of the population. So we're going to adapt our language to what we hear growing around us. So when people talk about visualizing, we kind of just adapt to that way of speaking, even though we aren't actually seeing a picture. And of course, at the same time, we aren't realizing that other people literally were seeing pictures. It's just this whole giant miscommunication. So at first, I thought that really sounds right and hits home, but no, I can kind of sort of see things in my mind's eye. That's what I really initially thought. But the more I sat with the idea and thought about it, I'm like, no, what happens is I just have a really quick list of descriptive words that come up so quickly when I'm talking about something that it almost seems like I can see the thing that I'm talking about, but I really can't. There's no image there. There's no image in my mind or out here in space. For instance, let's say, think about a bicycle. So if you have aphantasia, you can very quickly think in your mind descriptions of a bicycle. It's got two wheels, there's silver spokes, the tires are black, it's got handlebars, the seat might be this shape or that shape. But see, here's another clue about aphantasia. Because we aren't actually visualizing a specific bicycle, we think really quickly about all the options that might be in a bicycle. But if you tell a visualizer, hey, visualize a bicycle, oftentimes a specific bike will pop up in their brain, and then they can describe that bike. They would be able to tell you what color the frame is, what size the seat is, what kind of handlebars that bicycle may have, because they are looking in their mind's eye at a specific bicycle. Now there's another end of the spectrum, which are hyperphantasia, and those are people who can visualize extremely well, including movies in their mind's eye. My sister is hyperphantasia, and often what she describes is if I was to say, hey, visualize a bicycle, what happens in her brain is really quickly, almost like a Google slide images search of all the bicycles out there very quickly. Then she'll pick the one that she wants from all of these bicycles that she sees, and then she can describe that one. She can also then make a little movie in her head about that bicycle because she has hyperphantasia. So that kind of brings up the point that visualization is a spectrum. So there are people who, like myself, are total Aphants and do not have any senses, including absolutely no imagery in our mind's eye, all the way to people who are hyperphantasia and have extremely vivid pictures and movies in their mind. Then there's a spectrum all the way across from one end to the other. So when can you use the term aphantasia? In my personal opinion, and I am not a researcher or a medical professional at all, but I think that you can use the term aphantasia if it helps you describe a need that you have when you are trying to communicate with somebody. So let's say you can sort of visualize a kind of fuzzy image in your brain. You're not all the way down here of no visualization, but you can kind of barely make out the idea of a bicycle in your visualization, but it's not enough to effectively do anything for you. Like if you were going to try to draw that bicycle, you would need an actual reference, because drawing the one in your mind isn't clear enough to actually do anything. Or if you are in one of those meditation classes and you can't visualize the thing that they're trying to tell you to meditate on well enough to it actually help you, then maybe the term aphantasia still applies to you. Maybe it is a communication tool that you can use and say, hey, I have aphantasia, I cannot visualize in my mind's eye. There's no need for people to be like, oh, if you can see anything, then you don't have aphantasia. That's just ridiculous. And there's that spectrum where there are people over here who can see very crisp and beautiful scenery, but there's no moving parts to it. Then there's people who, in the middle might be able to see an object, but there's no scenery around that object. So just like a lot of neurodivergencies, visualizing in your mind's eye is a spectrum. I hope this video really helps you understand a little bit more about aphantasia and where you are on the visual spectrum, because everybody is going to be somewhere on this visual spectrum, and it's super fascinating for us to discuss and learn more about it by communicating what's in our brains that nobody else can see, and trying to find a language and common ground to explain our internal experiences. If you found this video helpful or entertaining, help me grow my channel by subscribing and commenting down below. And until the next one, bye guys.